I remember in 2016, we were having such a hard time. We were having a financial crisis. We thought that the decisions we made were wrong in so many levels, because I had a job the year before in a company where I was making pretty good money. And I made the decision to go in business with this other guy from a church that we used to go to. And then we had some businesses here in Colombia. We used to have some clothing stores. And my wife was tired of working those stores, and she was wanting me to make the decision to close them or sell them or whatever the case might be. Well, the Lord also called us in 2015 to work for Him. We only walked with the Lord for about a year and a half, and He's given us this assignment. And we decided to listen to it. So in the midst of all that, made the decision to close the stores in Colombia and rely on the job that I had open, or the business that I had open with this guy. And then a month later, he says, I don't want to be your partner anymore. And we were left empty-handed in a really bad situation. So through all this, in 2016, we were having this financial crisis. On top of that, we're still managing to live together with my wife in the sense of getting used to each other, because we only been together for about a couple of years. And I was diagnosed with PTSD, very hard. It was very bad. I have the delusion. I was delusion of persecution and being afraid all the time. I was looking around who was following me. In the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, 4 tours, we lived some pretty bad things. In one of our deployments, we were getting attacked every day. We hardly slept because the attacks happened during the middle of the night. So we were getting bombed left and right, and we used to just get up and pretty much sleep in a bunker for a couple hours and then come to bed. And by the time, who was going to sleep then, So I was diagnosed with PTSD. I had really bad headaches, insomnia. There was a lot of things that was wrong with me. And then to sum it up, my wife and I weren't getting along, partly because I have all these issues. I used to yell at, very aggressive. My character was very bad, and it was just bad, And then we had this problem at the house one day, and it was like I blew up. I couldn't take it anymore. I told my wife, I said, well, you don't want me here. I'm leaving. I'm done. Stay with the house, keep the money, do whatever. And I decided to take a walk. But it was a long walk. I wasn't planning on coming back. And I think there's a lot of veterans out there that can relate to this because of all these situations, and mostly because of financial issues. They decide to give up on themselves, and that's what happened to me. Even though I had a family, I had a house, and I had my retirement, I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to give up on my life, on my life, on my wife, my son, and I didn't want to be there. My wife used to be very aggressive as well. She wasn't giving in to any of my demands in a way, because I used to say this is how it's going to be, and she used to go against my desires or the things that I was saying, So I took a small backpack and a jacket, because it was during the winter that this happened, and I decided to take a walk, and it was a very long walk. And the whole time I used to think, I'm not coming back. I'm just going to live in the streets. I'm just going to walk as far as I can, and she's never going to find out about me anymore. And that's what was going through my mind. Headaches, frustration, lack of forgiveness, bitterness. All these things were going through my mind. And then walking through the night, because this happened like around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I started walking, and I walked 4 hours. I got really tired, and I said to myself, I'm going to sleep somewhere. And I went to sleep on the side of the road. Very cold, it was dark. And then for a couple hours later, I went to keep on walking. And finally, after 8-9 hours, I reached a small town where there was a gas station. I was very thirsty. And I sat there on the sidewalk thinking to myself, what am I doing here? It was like the Lord telling me that I needed to come back, to go back to my home. The Lord telling me or giving me that thought or that feeling that what I was doing was wrong. And I was just sitting there drinking the water, thinking to myself, what am I doing here? And next thing you know, I saw a police officer driving by, and he saw me. And he says, hey, what's going on? I was like, nothing. He says, tell me what happened. Why are you out here? Because it was almost 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And he said, what happened to you? I mean, he's probably from the area. He never seen somebody like that, because I wasn't in raggedy clothes or anything like that. It was just regular clothes, and I was sitting on the side road. There was nobody around. And I gave him a little bit of my story, and he says, come on, it's time for you to go home. And he took me home. I told him where I lived. And when he took me home, he saw the house that I was that I was living in, and he's like, wait a minute, I gotta make sure that I'm leaving you where you really live. And it took him by surprise, because he came to find out that the story I was telling him was true. I was in this nice neighborhood, big house, front yard. I mean, he was like, what? Do you really live here? And I said, yes. And he's like, wait here in the car. And he left me in the car, in the back seat. You can't get out. And he went to knock on the door, and my wife rapidly answered the door. And he told her that I was in the car, and she almost started crying. And she was very grateful to this police officer. And she said, yes, that is my husband. And I was praying for him to return home. And so he went and opened the door, and I went inside the house, and he looked at us, and he says, are you guys going to be okay? And we say, yes, thank you. And he left. But I guess this whole testimony, this whole story is just to tell you that if you have family who are veterans, if you have family who are in situations like that, this is what's going on. The enemy gets a hold of us. He will get a hold of you. If you're going through this situation, he will get a hold of you. And he will do the things that he is used to doing ever since this whole war started. And it's to destroy you. And it's to be able to steal everything from you and to kill everything that is in your life. And he's trying to kill every hope that is in you, because that's what he does. He kills hope. He kills our reason for us to be here. So I understand that you're going through a hard time, and I understand that maybe you have family and friends who are going through this whole situation, but there is hope, and that is Jesus Christ. He's the one that healed me. I don't suffer from PTSD anymore. I don't suffer from any headaches, insomnia. I sleep like a baby now. He healed me from my back, my broken back, and he did a lot of things in my life. Not only that, not only did he heal me physically, but spiritually, because I don't yell anymore. At least I hope that I don't. And I live a life where it's full of purpose. And remember, I was telling you, the Lord called us the year before to do work for him. And we go through a process. And people that are going through this understand that the process sometimes is short and sometimes it's long. And for us, it was a process, and we understood that God was trying to do something with us. And if I would have continued doing the things that I was doing, I would never be here doing the things that I'm doing today, because that's the Lord working through me. And remember, this is a very specific message, We can do all things through Christ who gives us the strength, and He will heal you if you ask Him to. There's got to be a purpose for your life. Don't give up.